Welcome to Mental Health Mondays. We are so happy that you are here with us today. I'm Atonte Myers. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and my co-host is Dr. Ricardo Whyte. He's a psychiatrist, and we are just happy to be with you and happy that you decided to come and be with us this evening. So welcome, Dr. Whyte.
Happy Manic Monday, Sister Tante.
Yeah. My Mondays are quite manic, but like I said, it's always a blessing when they're over and I get so many things done already for the week. So, yes. All right. Well, of course, Mr. Clint, you are here with us. You are always the first one to let us know that you are here and welcome. And let's give Dr. Whyte a question. Where is Clint from?
Oh, Clint is from Texas.
Yeah, but what part?
Oh my goodness. Um, it's
I
not Keene, Texas.
No, don't
Um,
tell him, Clint. Don't put it in the chat.
oh my goodness. Texas, and I've seen it so many
I
times.
know
It's not like it's not
for
like
like 2 years.
let me hurry up and go and look at one of the old episodes.
Let's see.
San Antonio. I don't know.
I believe it's Longview, Texas. Clint, tell me if I'm right. I think it's Longview. I think.
Let's see.
Let's see.
Is that Gigi that's from Keene, Texas?
Yeah, she's from It's Colleen. Colleen.
Colleen.
Yes. Yes, I was right. Longview. We just said it so much. That's why. But great. I don't even know where Longview, Texas is, if that's near Dallas, Houston, if it's near Killeen. I have El Paso. I have no idea where that's at. But we're always happy that you are here with us, Clint, and everyone else. So yeah, please. Hi, Ann Perry. Welcome.
Tell
And
us where you're from, Ann.
I know that one too. But I think, okay, it's near Dallas. Thanks, Clint. Didn't know that. Near Dallas. All right. I wish you would have come out to when we did the baptism. Our first baptism for Living Manna Church was, where was that? It was outside of Dallas, but I'm trying to think of the specific area, but it was right outside of Dallas. It would have been nice to meet you. Maybe next
St.
time.
Louis.
St. Louis. I knew that, Sister Ann. I knew that. All right. Welcome, Ann and Clint. Everyone else, please let us know that you're here. Put in the chat where you're watching from. And because we just want to say a special welcome to you. And please, this is the time to invite friends. We are talking about marriage. And I apologize because during church service this past Sabbath, I announced that we were doing part 4 to the Atomic Habits. And then I forgot that we had actually discussed we would do this because the marriage retreat is starting on March 8th, but we will come back and do part 4 next week. So for sure, we don't want to forget. We're not going to let Atomic Habits we are going to complete that because I know how much everyone loves it.
Yeah, super valuable. But no,
Yeah.
but we had talked before though about how relationships is just such a major issue to everyone.
Oh,
So
major,
so to
major,
have
major.
this kind of interrupt the atomic habits is kind of perfect in many ways.
Yes. All right. So we have Maxine from Louisiana. Welcome, Maxine. So good to see you and have you on Mental Health Mondays today. Sadie from St. Martin. St. Martin. Welcome. Of course, Amra from California. Always good to have our producer behind the scenes with us.
No question.
And then Pulaski, Tennessee, me Ford. Not too far. We're not too far from you in Pulaski, Tennessee, just right down the road. Right down the road. All right. So yes. All right. And we have Gibson.
Gibson from watching from Canada. That's cool.
Yes, the great country of Canada. Jimmy from Tuscaloosa. Welcome. Welcome.
Tuscaloosa. Where is that? Where is
That's
that?
Alabama.
That's Alabama.
Alabama. Yes. Probably I think about 3 hours from Huntsville, where we are. I think it's about that far. I think. Is that where the university is? The Roll Tide? I mean, I'm only saying that because Alabamians are insane about their football. I'm not
That's
not
good.
on that level, but when I think of Tuscaloosa, I Oh, hey, Maggie, watching from Australia. I know it must be Tuesday morning there. So welcome. Thank you for starting your Tuesday with Mental Health Mondays at
And Rosalie is from Belize.
All right.
And then Valerie from the Detroit.
Detroit.
Love it,
Detroit.
love it. Yeah,
Yes.
well, let's get into it.
Yes. It's good to
Yeah,
see everyone
good to
here
see
from all
everyone.
parts of the world. Such a blessing
Absolutely.
to be able to do this in this way. So, as you guys got notifications, we are talking about the Hearts on Fire virtual marriage retreat that will be happening on March 8th through the 10th. And I'm hosting that. And it's a Power of the Lamb Ministries event. And we're just excited to have as many of you that are wanting to come and to better your marriage, no matter what level your marriage is at. This retreat can just supply some help and some tools that will help you to become closer together if applied and exercised. And so that's with anything. And so we're going to get deeper into some of those things and just to answer your questions about how the retreat might work and all of those types of things. Because this is the first time I'm doing a virtual retreat. I've spoken at marriage retreats that are in person. I've never done a virtual marriage retreat, but this is it's exciting because we can reach more people that way. And so I'm excited to do that.
That's amazing. Well, she put me. You see how she put me on the spot, y'all, with Clint, right? So now you know it's payback time.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, as we're talking about marriage, Sister Tante, what do you feel like is one of the favorite things you've learned about how to make a marriage last?
That's a great question. I've learned so much, but the number one thing, you'd say the top thing, um, I tell my clients this and I apply it to my own life is to really learn and understand your spouse, to get a PhD in your spouse, to understand them, understand their personality, understand them in so many different ways, because that helps you as you're interacting with your spouse. So many times we want to be like offended by different things that, they do. But when you understand them and their personality types, it helps you to be able to not get so easily offended, but you can process it differently. So
That's
hopefully
no,
that makes
that's a
sense.
beautiful answer. So now, Clint, we're just going to press her just a little further. Um,
So I got I
so
got Clint and Dr. White challenger. Okay, that's okay.
absolutely, high five, Clint. No, so can you give an example of something you've learned about the pastor that it leads you to be more patient?
Okay, no, for sure. There's so much, but there's so much. But um, so and when I mentioned personality, like I did not know this honestly until the last maybe 10 years, maybe 8 years or so, his personality type. Like, when you're and maybe if we would have done premarital counseling with a licensed therapist, maybe they would have done personality tests, right? But we just went to like pastors and people that we knew who had really good marriages. And so, I mean, that's not bad, but I still say if you're going to do premarital counseling, do it with a licensed therapist, and then you can also talk to those other people as well. So, just saying that in the last 8 to 10 years did I learn about his personality type, right? And when I learned about his personality type, it made so much more sense to me why he did some of the things that he did that used to irk me. Is that I can say that used to irk me, that used to get on my nerves because I just didn't understand who he was I know he was a lover of God at his core, but his personality type at his core, how he processes things and how he does things and how he sees things. So now when some of those things pop up, I'll say, "Oh, okay, I get where you're coming from, or I understand why you're doing that." So again, I don't take it so I don't get upset. And that's the same with me. Like he's learned my personality type as well, and he understands all that goes into that personality type and like how I process things and certain situations, what they mean to me and what they mean to him. It's different.
Now, Sister Atonte, let me guess that in a public setting like this, you can't really go into crystal clear examples, but
Well, okay,
in an intimate setting like the retreat, that's where you probably could go into greater details, right?
that's true. That's true. I won't share
Isn't that
all my goodies here. No, no, no. You're right. You're right. I won't give specifics, but at the retreat, I will. Some learning tips for sure. For
absolutely?
sure.
It was
And I
more
saw
intimate, and you said that confidentiality. Now, you can't promise that other people won't be as
right.
but you can promise that you're going to be confidential.
I will
So
be confidential about who no one will ever know. If someone knows that you were at the retreats because you told them. It's not because I told them.
I like you publish it. Um,
Yes. Yes.
and unless somebody wanted to give a testimonial about how awesome it was.
Right. Of course. I mean, we'd love that, right?
Yeah.
But or how life-changing it was for you and your spouse. But yeah, I did share that this past Sabbath that confidentiality that I'm treating it the same way I do when I'm meeting clients under, that I'm their therapist,
Mhm.
that confidentiality is important because again, some people may not want to show up because they might think like, oh, then, other people might know that we're having, marriage issues. First of all, I'll just put this out there. On some level, every marriage I think is having some issues. Doesn't mean that they're horrible issues or ch- so challenging that you don't need to be together. But because we're human and we live in this sinful world, we're all going to have some issues on some levels. Would you agree,
You
Dr.
saying the
White?
devil is real? Is that what you're saying?
I'm just saying we're two sinful human beings coming together to live as one. So that means we can have happiness, but we definitely can have challenges. We will have challenges as well.
I think it's so interesting because when you get married, right? You try to choose the most perfect person possible, you know? You try to choose a person that you are just going to love and love and love. And in the beginning of the relationship, like everything is just so perfect and wonderful and all this kind of stuff. And you
Mhm.
don't realize that without fail, at some point, this person's going to come up short.
Oh, yeah.
At some point, they're
Mm.
gonna. It's virtually impossible for them to not come up short.
Right.
And then when they do, what are you gonna do now?
Hmm.
And not just that, the nature of subsisting in a social environment means you're also going to encounter people who kind of remind you of what it was like during the honeymoon phase,
Hmm.
and how wonderful it was.
Hmm.
And that can be a trick to
Yes.
persuade you that, oh my goodness, it's so much better with this person.
Mhm.
But guaranteed, presuming they're human as well, guess what they're going to have? Limits
Mhm.
in
Yes.
how much they please you. And so that's how you end up, going after person after person after person and not realizing
Mhm.
at some point you have to deal with what I call the burn. At some point you have to deal with, okay, I'm not perfectly satisfied. Now, what do I do with that? Um,
Mm.
and I almost feel like it's God letting you know that nobody's going to please you completely. Like,
Right.
it's almost like that's my job. Like, you're trying to
Yes.
ask them to do something that humans can't do,
It's beautiful.
you
That's
know?
beautiful. Mhm.
And so it's like, I wonder if maybe what you're longing for ultimately is something that would be fulfilled by the divine.
Yes. That's beautiful. Beautifully said. Beautifully said. I think and I hate to use this couple as an example, so please forgive me. But I think what um, Will Smith told Jada Pinkett, like what he meant to say is what you said. Because what he said, like, I give up trying to fulfill you and make you completely happy because he was doing all these things and she was still like, I'm not happy. And he was like, and he was like, you have to learn how to make your own self happy. Now, I like what you said better. And I think that's what he really was trying to say, that it's really, you need to find the perfect happiness in God. And then your spouse can come a very close second, but ultimately God is going to make you perfectly happy.
No, absolutely,
So maybe
absolutely.
Will Smith just didn't know to say that. Maybe we should somehow get him the message. But yeah, without God, Jada's still not gonna be perfectly happy, or
Let's
you're
have our people call their people and,
yes, because we know
get
that
this
we have
all,
connections. Yes, for
let's
sure. So
maybe they'll invite us to the red table.
yeah, they don't. You know what? That show got canceled, but that's okay. It did. But we're taking your questions as well. If you have questions about the retreat or just about marriage, we'd love to answer them here. And somebody said, and I agreed with them too. They said, I'm not married, but I think it's to listen more and talk less. Yes, that's definitely a lesson that I learned in 25 years of marriage. And I'm sure Dr. Whyte in his 20 plus years has learned as well. And I was just going to comment, Gibson, that you're single. And I want to say that this retreat can be for singles as well. And I'll tell you why, because it's something that Dr. Whyte and I talked about here, that when you're single, this is the time to be working on yourself and preparing yourself for marriage and for your spouse. You could be going to therapy or reading self-help books about communication or just dealing with issues that you've never dealt with. Dealing with them now before you get into marriage is very helpful. And so will learn tools that you won't need till you're married, but you'll have them.
No, that's absolutely powerful. I've said it many times before, but it's so important. It doesn't hurt to repeat it again. An important part of my marriage maturation was learning to not say the first or the second or the third or the fourth impulsive thought that came into my mind.
Yeah,
And
just
it's almost like the the older I get, the more years I rack up, the more numbers of impulses that I avoid or just ignore before I actually speak.
yes,
Um, like, yeah, it's like early in the relationship, everything you see, you comment on,
mercy.
and not good, not good,
Not
not
good.
good. And then later in the relationship, you learn, just be quiet. Just be quiet. Like, here was a huge breakthrough for me. The minute you see an issue or perceive an issue is not necessarily the time it needs to be addressed.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
that is such a breakthrough
Right.
because what I found is that like spiritually it's almost like an ambush.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yes.
like the time that you're urged to bring it up is very likely the last thing that person needs to hear right now.
Mm-hmm.
And if
Mm-hmm.
instead you just let it simmer and you let it think, once in a while, what you'll see is the very way you were experiencing it was a mistake. It was
Mm-hmm.
a good thing you didn't bring it up. Like sometimes it's like if I wanted to criticize something, when in fact my wife was actually doing something kind for me, you know? And
Right.
so like had you said something, you would have ruined it. Um,
Right.
and so just being quiet and giving it a second. And here was the really important thing. Always checking in to make sure that the person is not at their wits' end and you're
Right.
adding one more thing that
Yes.
basically is the straw that breaks the camel's back.
Yes.
That's a nice way to get knocked out.
I
And
will share
we're not
something. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Go
we're
ahead.
not advocating for violence here,
No, no, no.
but
Not at all.
please, yeah, please be very judicious in bringing issues up. What
Yes.
were you gonna say, sis?
Just that what you shared is something that I've shared within our own marriage. Sometimes I'll be there's a lot of things going on. I'm juggling, a lot of balls are in the air, right? And I'm trying to do all this. And then my husband wants to come and be like, "Oh, yeah, and another thing." And I'm like, "I'm juggling like 8 balls in the air. What do you mean and another thing?" Like, so we've talked about so outside of that, and another time I've said, you know what? Timing is everything. Like, just assess the situation. Oh, does she have a lot going on? Is she kind of stressed right now? Is she, oh, whatever the situation is. If it's if it's not a time like that and the waters are calm, then bring it up. That's
Like
all we're
and
saying.
well, that's the power of the check-in.
Yeah.
Just like so here you want to bring something up and you're just like, hey, how are things going?
Hmm.
And like I'm sure if you've ever had to go to an event, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes you'll be the person that's late, but other times you might be early. And what do you want to do? Your impulse is, hey, how much longer are you going to be? How much, what do you call it? And then so what my wife and I have figured out is a better thing is there anything I can do to help you?
Mm, mhm,
Is
mhm.
there do you need me to buckle your shoes? Do you need me to go grab this? It's like, how about I try to help you?
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, is there something you want me to go check on? How would you like me to pull the car up front, so
Right.
that we can leave from the front door and you don't have to walk through the garage.
Right.
So it's like you can actually but you know what it requires? You have to get out of yourself.
Mhm. Mhm.
You
Yes.
you have to get out of yourself and get into that person's experience, and I think that is the preeminent lesson of marriage.
Yes.
It's the ability to take your focus off your needs and get into that person and saying, "How can I be an asset to that person?"
Yes. Thumbs up for sure. I have to take a pause really quick. My childhood friend since I was 14, we both might have been 14, is on. So this is Amiel Lynette Perkins Sisk, and I have a sweet name for her. Don't kill me, but I call her Nana. Nana
Ah,
was her. So I don't call her Amiel. I don't call her. Well, I did used to call her Lynette. I think at the beginning too, but once I became like family, and she became family to my family, she was Nana because all her sisters and her mom call her Nana. So, hi Nana.
hello, Emil. Welcome to
Amy-
Mental Health Mondays.
yes. So, all right. Besides, okay, that sidebar done and said. Yes, where there's a question here. It says, "What impact does music have on relationships?" Well, I don't have a scientific answer for that, but I do know what I know personally is experiences. My husband and I, we have different taste in music. Even our Christian version is different. He's very melancholy, so he's very, very calm. And I'm like, okay, this has its place, but sometimes I just want something a little bit more. So we tend to not do music together. Does that make sense? Like,
That's wild.
actually, on Sabbath mornings, I tell Alexa what to play, and then we're pretty much on the same page. But other than that, um,
But
that's
I
that.
think it's a very important point that, and this
Mhm.
is something that John Gottman talks about, where please don't think you have to resolve every issue.
Yeah.
Like that's really important part of like coexisting is we're
Mhm.
just going to be different on this issue. That's okay. And we can coexist. You want to hear something hilarious
Yeah.
with regard to music? So, of course, my wife and I would be driving to church, and we used to listen to this one song on our way to church, right?
The same
And
one every week?
well, Sabbath after Sabbath, we would be in a rip roaring argument right about at the same point. And we started to be like,
You
I
know
wonder
what?
if that's the song.
And y'all didn't even have like the reason to be having an argument because y'all had one kid. We had four. All right. So the stress to get ready to get six people ready for church, pastor's family on time. We had the stress, but go ahead.
Oh my goodness. But it's like, it was like pattern. It became a joke. you know?
So every week, the same, you would have the exact same argument to the exact same song.
Well, it was a different argument, but it was the same song. And so we figured out that, this song is a bit much for Sabbath.
I don't think you've made me laugh this hard ever. This is funny.
Yo, and when we're off the air, I'll tell you what the song was.
Well,
But
I'm not gonna play the song, but so let me know so I can avoid the song and so we
oh,
don't
absolutely, we'll let you
if
know.
it's
I just
causing
I
if it's
just don't want to
causing
get
arguments.
sued for libel laws or anything like that or whatever. But
That that
but
is
it was
funny.
hysterical. So we do feel like at times there can be like a negative spiritual influence based on the songs. So it's either that or my wife and I are very argumentative.
But you've been married for 20 plus years. No, I think I don't know. The enemy knows you're going to worship God at church, and he just tries to make things challenging and
Well,
difficult.
And I love how he'll take advantage of like good stuff. You
Right.
wake up Sabbath morning and you're like, we're going to get to church on time. Like, what could be more noble than that? And oh my goodness, that's it starts from there.
Right.
And my big breakthrough was, look, Rick, you cannot wake up on Sabbath morning talking about you want to get to church on time. You
Right.
have to start from Saturday evening, making
Friday
the
or
plan
yeah, Friday
to
evening.
set
Yeah.
it up.
Yeah.
Everybody, do we know what we're gonna wear on Saturday?
I know I used to lay the kids' clothes out to make sure so they would. And there's 4 kids. The 3 daughters and well, the boy. The boy got his own stuff really, but I'd lay the. I remember laying out all the Sabbath dresses and like, okay, this is what you're wearing. This is what you put on when you get up. Yeah,
I
um,
don't want to wear that.
right.
I
That did
want to
start
wear
to
the
happen.
well, you should have cleaned that dress and you should have got the shoes that go with that dress. And it's this and you have this embarrassing argument and then you show up like everything's okay. Happy Sabbath, everybody. And
Yeah.
nobody's happy.
And yes, I just
Oh,
want to answer these. Okay, and to Ann Perry, yes, we knew that there was a 7-day Adventist dating service. I did hear, and I don't have any experience. Of course, I don't have any personal experience, but I don't have any experience where I know someone who's been on there and to give it a thumbs up or down. Do you, Dr. White?
that's been on what's the name of it?
It's an online seven. Oh, are you? She asking a question. Did you know yeah, there is one. So she's asking, did we know if there was an online 7-day Adventist dating service? And there is. It's called Adventist Singles, I think.
You got me. You got me.
Yeah, I think it's Adventist Singles, but somebody Google that and tell us if we're right.
Can you
'Cause
imagine if we were well versed on the single app?
no, we're not well versed. No, we are not well versed. But I do have,
I think she's
friends.
trying to set us up.
Yeah, we have friends that are. Let's
Oh
see.
my goodness. You can imagine. Yeah, I'm really aware of it. You download it like this, and this is the icon. No,
Yes.
I've been
Okay.
out that game for a minute.
Right.
Um,
This one is from Amber. It says one of the most helpful books I've read on male and female relationships and marriage is Love and Respect by Dr. Emerson. I don't know if I'm
Emerson Eggerichs. Yeah,
Eggerichs.
I,
So good. Yeah, I'm not familiar with that book, but
I'm familiar with that book.
okay.
He talks about the fact he believes that women want to be loved and men want to be respected.
And and women want to feel. Oh, I don't know if he goes on to say what love looks like, but they want to feel safe.
Yeah.
So if they feel
Um,
emotionally safe and of course physically safe, like, and the man, he's right that the men want to feel respected. I mean, if a
so
man feels respected, he'll do anything for you.
So I always struggle when books are a little too prescriptive.
Mm,
Like even when they talk about the 5 love languages, it's like I'm like, man, get good in all the love languages. And of course, I understand the whole point of the love languages. But
right.
with this again, this notion that I just want respect and that's how you show me love. I of course want respect, but I am sure there are like what 3 billion men on the planet. There's a significant degree to which we want to be loved.
Right.
I mean, it's just, I mean, just the notion that would really. But that said, please
Yeah.
do not minimize how much a man values respect and how much being loving will communicate to that person. I respect them. And to his point, the reason I really like that is
Hmm.
because like the if you look at a man's relationship with his woman, like she brings him honor. If you're wanting to know how well a man is doing, you don't look at him, you look at his woman. How is
Yes.
she dressed? What does she look like? Is she smiling? Like she is
Right.
the ultimate mark of his success.
Yes.
And more importantly, and then the next level that you'll move on to now is then how is she treating him? How does she
Hmm.
regard him? How does
Hmm.
when he's talking, is she engaged? If he's
Right.
presenting, is she present? Like those are the things people are looking at, you know.
Hmm.
Um, and then of course, the flip, what is a man to a woman? And like you're looking, well, is he protecting her? Does he care for her? Is he tender with her? Is he
Right.
loving? Is he considerate? All this stuff.
Yes.
So
I mean, when women feel safe, emotionally safe, and of course, again, physically safe, it fills their love cup so full that that's when they'll be like, what can I do for him? Because she feels so safe emotionally. She knows that she can trust him. And I don't mean just in the trust him to not go out and not commit infidelity, but she can trust him with her emotions, that he cares. She knows that he really cares and is soft with her and is gentle with her. And that just like breaks a woman down to be like, whatever you like, whatever you want, like, what do you need from me? Because they're feeling safe. And we have
and
another
yeah, go
question.
for it. Uh-huh.
It says, is it fair to a person before you marry them to measure how many good and bad ways that they possess and make your decision based on which side you can tolerate more? Hmm.
um that would seem like discernment, frankly. That's a long way to say, should I have
Right.
discernment? You absolutely should have discernment.
Yes.
Um, yeah, it
Yeah.
absolutely makes sense to do an assessment to determine what do I want to put up with. No
Hmm.
question, no question. I think before all I was saying is you're gonna have to put up with something.
Right.
Um,
Everyone.
but
Yes.
but
Exactly.
but that's the whole point of the importance of time in making your assessment. There's a period where in the early relationship you're kind of hijacked by hormones. Dopamine is
Mhm.
flowing, oxytocin is flowing, and this person is just seeming so flawless and perfect. And heaven forbid, there's sexual activity, which
Mhm.
further kind of clouds your thinking, potentially anyway, which
Right.
can further cloud your thinking. But the clearer your mind can be, the more you can see, little simple things. Like I was talking to a young lady who she was like, if I ask a person what's their 5-year plan
Mm.
and they don't
Mm.
have a 5-year plan, where are you going to lead me? You know, where,
Wow.
where are you going to lead me to? And you don't have a 5-year plan.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
I
Yeah.
mean, I was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. That's a good
Um,
question. I don't know if there's, okay. So while we might be getting another question or comment, I just wanted to also share that, the retreat is called Hearts on Fire because we're wanting to rekindle that fire that you started with. So, because so many times people start, they're connected and there's so much fire. I like to use this as an example. They're so connected. And over time, they start to just grow apart emotionally, that passion is fading and fading. There's so much stuff in between here, and then after a while they're like way over here. You can't even see my hands. I don't know if you can see them. And they're so far apart. And so we're going to talk about that at the retreat, how to rekindle that fire. And one of the ways that I want to talk about, um, that something that we're going to talk about at the retreat is sexless marriages. How do you get to that point, and why is it so important that your marriage is not sexless? And I mean, like some people, I've talked to people who have sex once or twice a year. I've talked to
Mercy,
people, yeah, I've talked to
mercy,
people, yeah, yes, I've talked to people who have been like, this is the one that just really hurt my heart. 10 years. That's 10 years. I know. 10
like
years.
we need to stop and pray right now.
I know. Yes, yes. And so
Mhm.
I say all that to say is what I like to share. And I share this if my couples are Christian, if they are both Christians, then I'll share it like this. But if they're not, then I'll share it in a little bit different way to be able to reach them. But for the Christian audience, I want to say God made sex. Sex is a blessing to the marriage. And we have to stop looking at it like, I don't know, sometimes in the Christian realm as something um, that it's not something like that's either negative or just
ungodly.
a nuisance or something like that. But no, this is something God made. I mean, he made sex, he made marriage, he made the Sabbath. They're all important. I mean, he told Adam and Eve to be fruitful and multiply. Like
Well,
that's
but
having a lot of sex.
I do think that part of the trick that the enemy does as it
Mhm.
relates to sexual experience is there's more of a focus on novelty versus a focus on intimacy.
Right.
Um, and so what I mean by that is like if you look at, porn or sometimes the sexually liberated culture, the
Mhm.
idea is it's almost like sex is viewed as a sport. Like
Right.
the number of, sexual encounters is, hey, well, what's your number? And it's almost like there's a badge of honor to get a lot of numbers. And in contrast to a focus more on intimacy, because
Mhm.
novelty is going to have you, it's going to be like a sport, and
Mhm.
well, now we got to do this, and now we got to do
Right.
this, and now we got to do this, and before
Right.
you know it, it's kind of left the building, as
Mhm.
opposed to kind of a focus on intimacy and, hey, well, how can I really please you, and how can we make this enjoyable, and
Right.
keeping it in the context of the relationship. And I think that's like I think the over focus on novelty is what can ultimately minimize it, and
Right.
you can lose sight of intimacy as in
Mhm.
pursuit of just novelty.
Yes, and it's a part when there's not enough sex in the marriage, I call it connecting sex, then that's part of this. I mean, you start like this, you're in love, you get married, and you're just, doing all that these things, and then things happen and you start pulling away and the sex becomes less and less frequent, and then it's just
Non-existent.
yeah, there's sexless marriages, and then when my husband interviewed me on Thursday about the retreat, he said you would think because of what the world is going through with pornography that wouldn't be the case, but it's the exact opposite. Meaning, because so many men and women that are addicted to pornography, it's actually having. I'm not saying this is the sole reason, but it is having its impact on marital sex. It's taking away from that intimacy. Either there's not a desire the way it was, or it's been so perverted that it's just not the same thing. And for many women, of course, when they find out that their husband is, addicted to porn, it feels like he's cheated on them. And and so there's a lot there. There's a lot there.
Well,
So we're gonna deal with
it
all that. Go ahead.
well, it's interesting because what the addictions have in common is addictions take the experience out of context.
Right.
So, like, life in its natural context is a gamble, but now with pathologic gambling, gambling is taken out of its context. Sex in its context, in the context of a committed relationship, again with a focus on intimacy, it's a beautiful thing. But if you
Mhm.
take it out of its context
Right.
and you're just going to treat it as a sport,
Mhm.
well, where's that gonna where does that road actually end? Um, and and so you can see that part of recovery is just coming back to, I think we kind of lost sight of one another
Mhm.
in
Mhm.
this journey. And so, hey, now how do we get back to seeing one another and making the priority intimacy? Because the other thing, to your husband's point, um, whether it's, pornography or, physical self gratification,
Right.
um, like that can be done to the point where the genitalia can actually get desensitized and,
Mhm.
injured in some ways. And so it's like
Yes.
you now really can't function, so to
Right.
speak.
Yeah. Mhm.
So that there are very crystal clear explanations as to why there's a reduction in the
Mhm.
interest, for
Mhm.
sexual activity. So
Right.
intimacy, folk, intimacy.
Yes.
I definitely am a champion of focusing on intimacy more so than novelty. Not that some
Mhm.
novelty is good,
Right.
but just don't overemphasize
Right.
it.
There's a comment here that Leela has put. She's I have a family. I have a family member who hasn't had sex with her in 12 years, her husband, and pats her on her head and tells her she's still his best friend, that he's still her best friend. That's sad. And that's the passion in that relationship has gone away, has gone away. We're going to talk about that too, where marriages, you feel like roommates, like you're good administrative business partners, like you know how to run the family really well and the children are successful and all of these things, but your passion is gone. So we're going to talk about that as well as at the retreat. But yeah, and then Amber said something similar. Someone very close to me is in a sexless marriage and just grateful if their partner holds their hand or is playful. Wow. Yeah, that's the same thing.
Well, now, and I do want to have a word for, sometimes there are relationships where folk have matured, kind word for have gotten significantly older, to
Mhm.
where there can be more of a focus on intimacy and like non-sexual intimacy.
Right.
Sometimes
Right.
that is just a phase of the relationship.
Right.
But and so we're not saying that a sexless marriage is an automatic indictment that there's
Mhm.
something wrong.
Mhm.
So I just want to balance our conversation with that reality
Right.
as well.
But I'm glad you
Um,
put if you're much older, because if you're not, and that age is relative too, meaning like we can't put a number on that.
well, because there are also people who are very advanced in age who have a robust sexual experience. So just let's balance it with that as well. So we get it,
I
but
mean, we're
we
not
just
going to
also
say you're going to be like Abraham and Sarah. I mean, that was a miracle, right? She was 99 at 100. Well, I mean, I'm just saying,
well,
but
I'm just saying that just because you don't have a baby doesn't mean you cannot have a
that's
robust
true.
experience,
That's
though.
true. That's
So
true. So some 90-year-olds out there were like, hey, wait a minute. Yeah, that's, hey. So yeah, we're not putting a number on that. Definitely not putting a number or
absolutely.
age on that.
Uh,
Yes. So let's see. Uh, all right.
your
So
childhood friends,
I know.
your childhood friend said she doesn't want to get pregnant.
Yes, we know. Yeah, I won't say
Oh,
any more. Not. I'm gonna leave it right there. I'm gonna leave it right there. We have a worldwide audience. So yeah. Yes, but she has two beautiful children already, so we understand that. Okay, she
hmm.
said it. I didn't say it. She said it. She said her last baby she had at 41. Uh,
Wow.
and I was like, we're like a year and a half apart, and I was like, what? We're not having kids anymore. We're done. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
she did, and she looks amazing, and she had no issues, and yeah, so God blessed her with a second son. Um,
Awesome. We have a nice question.
okay.
So do the right or left side of the brain have anything to do with the way men and women see each other? And I think this is going back to the discussion about men valuing respect and women
Mm,
valuing love. The right side of the brain being described as more artistic,
mhm,
and big picture, and then the left side of the brain traditionally being viewed as more concrete, kind of dealing with the leaves, rather
mhm.
than the right side that kind of sees the trees and the forest.
Right.
Now, keep in mind, it said that women they prefer to go both left and right, with some kind of, favoring of the right.
That's why we
And men,
multitask. I think we talked about that before. We go left. And you
yeah,
don't like nobody say that, but we go left and right. But go ahead.
yeah, yeah. I mean, well, so I don't know. There could be something to that. It
Yeah,
it
there
would
could be.
seem like it would make some sense.
Mhm,
But again, I know as a man, I definitely value respect, and
mhm.
I just value love as well. It can be. You know what's interesting, Sister Tante?
But
Like
mhm,
I think I think the concept of masculine tenderness is something that's kind of lost on people. Another thing is how sensitive men are. Like
Right. Oh, I know.
if you haven't been around men, like you won't you
Mhm.
won't know when you've hurt a man,
Oh.
and you won't understand like what looks like rage is actually no, you just really embarrassed that person.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm obviously not excusing any kind of inappropriate behavior, but
Mhm.
so there is a sensitivity there. There are some attributes normally ascribed to like a more feminine that I
Mhm.
think at times, it's just lost on people that know there's a sensitivity that you're just kind of not aware of.
Right. No, yes, men are very sensitive. That's something we will talk about at the retreat, and how to learn how to navigate that in a sense. Like, people think that women, we're the emotional, and we would be the more sensitive. When I've just learned, like, when women, because women can be cheated on, right? Like, let's just say they're dating someone, or and they get their heart broken. Like, a man would be hurt, a woman is hurt, but she tends to is pretty resilient to be able to bounce back and be like, okay, that hurt. That was not a okay relationship. I'm healing now. I'm back in this game. I'm ready to meet someone else. When a man experiences that same thing, they can come back from it, but I feel like it takes them a much longer time to trust again. They're so hurt because they put their heart out there to someone and someone crushed it. And I've just seen so many times it takes a longer time. And I'm not going to blanket all men, can't do that. But I've just seen that it's a more difficult time, and they have a harder time to trust again. They're afraid to trust again. And women have that fear too, but they tend to heal faster. That's what I'm seeing. But
Yeah, I'm gonna
it's not a
concur with.
scientific study. That's my just experiences.
Yeah, but I, I,
I've
I
seen.
definitely, I definitely see value in what you're saying.
Mhm.
John Mueller, he said, "Can you share what it means to respect a man?" Oh, that's a great question.
That
Um,
is
and
a great question. Go ahead.
we'll also do the flip. What does it mean to love a woman? So
Right.
I'll
And can I
I'll
just
take.
say this? Oh, go ahead. I don't want to cut you off.
Well,
Go ahead.
I was going to take the what it means to respect a man, and then you could take what it means to love a woman. But was there
Okay.
something you wanted to jump in with?
Well, I just wanted to say, because you said, like, you want respect and you want love too. And I feel like they're almost synonymous, maybe not perfectly, because like when a man will translate respect as love, like, yes, he wants, the cuddly, type of love too, but they will translate respect into love. Like, they feel the way the men, and you're a man, so you can say it better than me, but the way men are built, they just feel like, yes, I'm respected, and now I can protect and honor you, and I know that you are respecting that, and it massages their heart, and they translate it into as love.
Yeah, John, with regard to respecting a man, so much of it is optics. Ladies, hear me good. So much of it is optics, meaning there's so much you could get away with if it was just you and your man.
Mm,
But like once there's someone present, once there's somebody else present, it's really an opportunity for you to demonstrate respect.
mhm,
um, how you talk to him, how
mhm.
he's talking to you, how responsive are you. So I was recently at a function, and I was on the elevator, and this woman gets on with her spouse, and like this is just a 3-second interaction. You know how long you are on the elevator. And in that 3-second time, she said, "I slept okay last night despite my husband snoring." And it was just like it doesn't seem like it's a big thing,
Yeah,
but you're there as that person's covering. And I don't know that women recognize it sometimes. It's like
right.
you're there, if anything, to protect that person's honor, much the way they would protect your honor.
Mhm.
And why would you put down your partner, like
Right.
that? Um, and it's like I felt bad for him because you could just see his shoulder just kind of slump. And again, it's easy to think, oh, that didn't impact him. No, you just impacted him profoundly.
Mhm.
It doesn't seem like a big thing. Um, so to your question, so much of it is external when people
Mhm.
are around. Of course, it also matters because imagine you're super respectful when people are around, but then you decimate the person when no one's around. Oh yeah, that'll work. No, I'm not saying that'll work. I mean,
Right.
it would be nice if it's congruent. It's just when it's just the two of you, you can apologize and move forward.
Mhm.
When it's people around, you often will not even get the opportunity to pull everybody back together, say, I'm sorry that I did this to X, Y, or Z. You add to that man's credit when you are respectful, sensitive, attentive, present.
Right.
You make him look bigger.
Mhm.
And that's a sacred trust. That's a very sacred trust. What
Yes.
about you, Sister Tante? What does it mean to love your woman?
Again, um, women like to feel safe. So, small tokens of thoughtfulness where you're just, showing them that you're thinking of them and you're looking out for them and you're protecting them. Those are the
Hey, let me
key.
ask you.
Go ahead.
Let me ask you this. When are you turning them off by being too sweet?
That's a good question. Um,
Because too much is too much, right?
no, I mean, my husband can never be too sweet to me. I know. I mean, too sweet? I don't know if there's such a thing. I mean, sometimes I feel like I'll be honest with you, my girls would well, they might watch this, they might not, I don't know. But when a guy is like overly too sweet, that's because they don't really like them. But when you really like someone, you're happy for all the sweetness and kindness. So when you're truly in love with your spouse, what do you mean like too sweet? I mean, I don't know how you could put on too much. I mean, within that sweetness, it doesn't mean like you don't ever put your foot down or just in a nice, kind, respectful way say, you know what, honey, talking to your wife, I don't think we should do this. We need to do it this way. That doesn't mean that you don't do that, but you're loving and kind and respectful and thoughtful, and you're always, just thinking of basically how to please her and make her happy, and you're paying attention. That's what women like, when you're paying attention to the small details about them. Women love that. They love that. Go ahead.
Well, and I don't take anything away from that. I think where I'm kind of going is I'm sure we've all eaten desserts here. We've all eaten desserts. And
Mhm.
you and I both know high quality dessert is measured sweetness. It's not too sweet. Cheap dessert, like the sweetness is unmeasured. It's too sweet, and it's like, get that away from me. That's cheap. But if you get yourself some Godiva, you get yourself some what's really high quality.
I don't know what Condiva is. Maybe
Uh,
I'm good.
Flint,
That
is
a
it what
is
is
that a
it? It's
dessert?
like no, Godiva is like good chocolate. What's the other one? Lint. I think it's lint.
I'm
Like
not a
lint
sweet I
is
don't
like
eat a lot of sweet. Yeah, okay. So it's really
lint,
good
lint,
chocolate.
lint is like high quality chocolate.
Okay. We'll see what you
That's
like.
like my
Exactly right.
the sweetness is just so measured. So what I'm saying is,
It's
as a
just the right
dude,
amount of sweetness.
yes, like you want to be on her cutting edge. Like
Right.
you don't want to be neglectful, and you
Right.
don't want to be overly,
Yes.
because like somebody else pointed out, like sometimes that would be coming from insecurity. We talk about love bombing. Candy said we don't want to be smothered. Thank you. Exactly.
I get that. No, I get what you're saying, and I get what Candy's saying too. I think I'll just speak personally from like, like I feel like my husband is very, very very sweet and very kind. But I feel like that's, we're both very busy people. So he's extremely busy and being a pastor and all the different ministry stuff that he's doing. So when we have time together, he pours in that sweetness. Does that make sense? So life is so busy that I think the pockets of sweetness happen when you're not busy doing all those other things. And so it doesn't become too much because you have way too much going on in life, especially if you have children and whatever. So when you're ready to take a break from the kids, you're me personally, I'm ready for some sweetness because I've been dealing with kids, been dealing with work or whatever. So it's just a balance. I feel like if he doesn't have anything else to do but 24 hours a day, 7 days a week is to pour sweetness onto you, then he probably needs to get a job or to get a whole, you know what I mean? Like he has to have a
Well, because
life.
yeah, it's like you said, nobody wants to be smothered. I think that word is just exactly perfect. Like you
Right.
don't want to be suffocated. Like because and here it is, fellas and ladies, tell me if I'm wrong. One of the things I notice with women is women like novelty. Like so, and they and tell me if I'm wrong, Sister Tante. Ladies
No.
like surprise.
Yeah, I was just
So
gonna say
it's
that.
like
Surprise.
they like surprise. So it's like they hate, I think, predictability. They do not want that I can predict that blah 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 blah. It's
Mhm.
like no, it's I didn't see that coming. It's like I think that's what you're kind of shooting for. And
Right.
so and what does it take to do that? You got to put thought into that.
Mhm.
And so these are actual ways of demonstrating, oh, I'm thinking about you.
Mhm.
Oh, I was expecting this, but I got this. Or he does it this way usually, but oh, there's a change. And this is my issue with the love languages. Like
Right.
if you think that it's just touch, 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 touch,
Yeah,
but heaven
no.
forbid you develop the skill of doing a service. I was like, wait a second, that was kind of awesome.
Life
Um,
I think life should naturally balance you. Like life should naturally balance you that you won't I mean, you're just not going to be I don't think if life is balancing you even though you're married to a kind loving person you won't feel smothered because life has balanced the time and all of those things. um and I don't want to be misunderstood. Someone said that's why Mrs. Myers because you don't see him all the time. I mean, I see him every day. We and we talk like all the time even if we're not in the same place, but in that part of the day, but we're still busy, even though I see him all the time. And so, but when we can crowd out the busyness of all the things we're doing, that's where that sweet interaction can happen.
Yeah, you get pockets of undistracted time,
Yeah.
and then you want it to really and truly be undistracted. So I get exactly
Mhm.
what you're
And we're going to talk about all these things at the marriage retreat. It has been going across the screen about the website, atontelmft.com. You can get more information there. You can register for the virtual retreat. And we're going to be
saying.
talking about some of these issues we're talking about and communication as well. So you just don't want to miss it. But go ahead.
275, sis. Guys, hurry up and register because I'm gonna persuade her to increase those prices. I mean, like, oh my goodness, hurry up because by the time I'm done, I'm gonna explain to you why that should be much, much more.
Yeah,
And
it could be
225 for Living Manna
for Living Man and church members.
members.
Yeah,
Oh my goodness.
these are for on the book members. We have a lot of viewing audience, but on the books members.
Right. No,
Yes. Yes, because
that's
it's, this because marriages are, just like Satan came and he attacked the Sabbath, he attacked
mhm.
marriage. He attacks marriage. That's the first thing. Like he's like, I'm gonna separate Adam and Eve. I'm gonna get them to not be on the same page. And he's been doing that ever since. He's been doing that
You
ever
have some
since.
exercises that you plan to support them with, Sister Tante? Some little secrets?
Yes, but I can't tell them they have to come.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
They have
Absolutely.
our dear friend from Pakistan, Evangelist Rima. Welcome. Even though we're almost at the end, you can go back and watch the whole thing. But love that you're watching from Pakistan.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Join us at the retreat. I don't Evangelist Rima. That'll be great. But yeah, I'm excited to be doing this retreat. I just know that by God's grace, it will be a blessing to so many marriages. And I always say when the marriages are a happy place, children's lives are better. You're just happier as an individual because your marriage is in a happier space. And so that's what we are wishing for everyone.
What kind of people really need this, experience? What in your estimation?
Um, I I think all marriages, like I said at the beginning, meaning like your marriage doesn't have to be bad. You could have a good marriage and it can get better, right? You can pick up some tools that, you'll be like, all right, hey, we're doing all this other good stuff, but we're not doing this, and this could take us to the next level. Or the marriage could be you're like
Little
this,
rocky. Uh-huh.
and you will learn tools on how to um, it's a process, but to grow closer together and eventually reconnect. Going back to our book, James Clear on Atomic Habits, 1% improvement a day will, 37% by the end of the year, you're getting better. So, you may start off like this, but making changes and that little bit of change each day will help you become closer together. So, whether your marriage is in a very good place, it can always get better. Or if your marriage is in a rocky place, or you may even be considering, like, I don't even want to do this anymore, this retreat is for everybody.
Well said, sis. Well said.
It's for
For
everybody.
$275 per couple, not even per person. Can't we at least make it per person?
I guess when we do one together, we'll increase it because then they'll get even more. They'll get even more. They'll get yours and mine. And so, yeah, hey,
Absolutely.
yeah,
But I guess my point is just, folks, please take advantage of this.
yeah,
Please take advantage of this. As you can see, it's been priced so that it's not going to break the bank. And that this is a great investment. I just think, man, you're so kind-hearted. You're so kind-hearted because I know these retreats, they're not coming in at 275 per couple for 3 days.
no. And I actually looked
Um,
it up. I looked up some retreat. I just started looking up marital retreats, and they were more. John Gottman's retreat. I mean,
oh my goodness, we're talking like 5,000.
it's
Yeah, yeah,
four
yeah,
thousand.
yeah, 4,000. Yeah,
Now he's amazing. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm not saying you wouldn't learn amazing things. I mean, I feel like you'll be learning some amazing things here too. But yeah, they can be pricey. They can be
4,000.
pricey. And the thing is that you don't have to leave. You get to be in the comfort of your own home, and so you don't have to pay for travel, place to stay, food, or all of that.
And
Um,
privacy,
and
privacy.
privacy, right,
Yeah.
and privacy, because again, confidentiality. If someone knows you went, it's because you told them, not because
Right.
I told them.
Other than the people that are already participating. No, this is
Yes,
phenomenal. I think it's wonderful that you're doing this, and yeah, I can't wait for the awesome results that are going to come from this. Sometimes you've been praying to God, hey, can you please provide something? We really want this, and now here it's provided, and now you've got to have the faith to act.
yes, yes, very
The
well
other thing is sometimes everything is going well right now, but
said.
God in
Mhm,
His infinite wisdom put something like this in place because He knows there's something coming.
mhm,
And so
mhm,
often in mental health, like people are waiting for a crisis rather than
right,
establishing the relationships in the first place so
right.
that you can get through the crisis. So please don't
Yes.
wait for a crisis.
Yeah, don't.
Like,
Get some tools.
is it fair to say that this would teach them and empower them to get through crisis more effectively? Is
Mm,
that fair
for
to say?
sure, for sure, because once a crisis hits in the marriage, it's like, yes, God can send out a lifeline, but it's just much more difficult to work through if you don't already know those tools, or almost have prepared for the times when the winds will get strong and the waves will get big, and that journey will be a lot more bumpier. But if you have the tools, it will make it easier during that time, for sure.
That's awesome. All
Yes.
right.
So the
And
website is there in the chat, atontelmft.com, and you can get more information and register there. But yes, we are all out of time. We're all out of time.
time flies, man. Time flies.
Yes.
Well, Sister Tansei, enjoy the rest of your evening as things slow down at this point.
Yes, you too. You too. And everybody, thank you for joining Mental Health Mondays. And we will see you next week where we will talk about part 4 of Atomic Habits.
Take care, Clint.
All right.
All
You
right.
guys have a good
Bye-bye.
evening. Bye
Bye,
bye.
Amber.